So we had the answer to the question of what happens to the Mochin the Abba, and why does it say, as we're about to read, that Abba, actually the extension of the Yesod of Abba is actually what goes outside through the Yesod of the Nook and is revealed outside. It's a light that happens over there. There's a bunch of questions about it. So how is that possible? It's a stira. So I'm just reading the top, that's it. It's not just the Mochin, Yotzin HaMochin Deza, Mitzad Nai, the Ima, not just the Nai, the Ima goes into the Nook, the Niknas of the Nook, Rachel Bekiyosa Ach Ba'ach, Ala'af Gam HaMochin de Benahi the Abba, Besod V'yiva L'Shem Elokim Asad Salah. Da, so his Ador Abba Ve'ima, that's the two of them. It's V'yiben Hashem Elokim, the Hashem and Elokim, it's Abba Ve'ima. Now they're inside of Zeranpin, and Zeranpin, it was a case of two ha'aros. Comes out, Yaakov comes out of there. The Ima, Yotzin Rachel, Mitzad Achrav on his backside. Come atach b'yotza marachel nuk dezad is or something comes out of Rachel who's the nuk dezach b'shtecha ma'aros elu gam came believe safek. There's two other lights. There's two lights that come out, no doubt about it. Now it seems like it wanted to go over that direction and talk about that, but it doesn't. Below old elisha b'hiyos mochim and his karim b'tocha nekeva netosefes netosfa. And there you were talking about Rachel, another Rachel, and then you're talking about also Yaakov. Now when they're inside of Zeranpin, as we know. It goes all the way down to the bottom. Zeranpin. The Yesod cloud doesn't go outside past the Yesod, but goes down all the way into the Yesod. So he says, Aval Ata, so now over here in our case, we're talking about Purim. Bata Alta Behiyosa Mochim Tocha Nekeva, now the Mochim are inside of the Keva of Ashara Yesod Shalot Nikvoy, the Kot service. The Nekeva is going, everything is going into the, into the Malchus of the Nook, or it's the Yesod of the Nook, it's the Yesod of the Nook. Mukhrach hu ha-Yesod the Abba Yispashto v'yotze b'chutz, it has to go outer because of the Yesod Nukva, for the chutz. But this Galach ha-Rasal begilu gamor legamri. Now let me see where I'm going to pick this up now. V'noida, ki ma shechoy mislavish b'Yesod dezah, so the same Abba that goes through the Yesod of Ima, it goes all the way down to the Yesod of Zah. He says, Hu b'bechinas atara shal Yesod Abba. That's the extension of the Yesod of Abba that penetrates the Chazir. Shehi b'bechinas malchus the Abba. So we call this the malchus of Abba. So now let's look over number Yud Tes, and we'll look at it down below instead of the number Lamed. I'm sorry, not Yud Tes, number Lamed. He's a ve'en sofen ki ha'arazucha niglas malchus the Abba. So we're talking about Abbas the Abba. That's the part, the Taras Yesod of Abba, that goes all the way down into the Yesod of Zeranpin. That's the self-same that's going to go into the Nukva. And it's the light of Abba, which is a very powerful light. Mordechai, because the root of the Mishnah of Mordechai, he was come from that ha'ara. So now he's calling it a ha'ara that's coming from it. He doesn't say it's ha'ara, it's what shines out of this. So this is the way that the Jews were saved. Ve'ein safek, he said, ve'ein safek ki ha'ara haki de malchus de Abba hamagula atara below levushim, because now it goes through the Yesod of Ima, He says, he ha'ara ha'gedolah ma'od, u'misham shorish nishmas Mordechai, v'dachem choisach ha'detshura al yado. So that's just repeating what he said up above, what the Rav said. So this period, the bias is destroyed, and now we're coming back to the time of 70 years. It was the time of this dormita that we were talking about. Well, so he says the el v'oz heir or. So then what happened is that the sun shined the malchus the abba. That's what happened there. And let me see. Okay, that's the basic idea right there. We still have the question of what is this ha'ara? So what he had said previously is that this is not the whole root of Abba. So this same way he says it can't be that this is the whole of Abba that's coming down, but Abba is composed of Ma'u Ben, and so he says a male side and a female side. And his mochim are Chabad, which is Chug. So on the left side, which is the Bina side of Abba, there's a switch that takes place between that and the Gevur, the Itra de Gevura. They go over to the Ima side. So since they're from Abba, they're going to be on the right side of Ima, and that's the part he says that is the part. If the explanation we heard is the explanation, that is the part that represents Mordechai, because that's the part that winds up shining. So let's go down to number Yud Tes. Yud Tes says ve'ein safek. There's no doubt. He says this is what it said before. Ki ha'arazu ha'niglik b'malchus da'aba is a great light. Let's go to the light print on this. And he says, the Truas Yisura, so let's go, a light print. Ubapri Eitz Chaim, he says, Hosif, he adds on to this, Sheha'ara ha'gadolah hazos, Hi ha'ara gadolah kolkach, it is so bright. And he just wants to add this little idea here. Sheme'ira b'kol ulamos bri yitzir nasi, it shines all the way, very far away from the core of Atzilus, ad olam hazeh, and it reaches this light. This place, this world. Let's go to the next little thing on page Lamed Bet, number Kaf. Number Kaf was talking about V'hine Shorish Nishmas Mordechai. He was from this ha'ara that we're talking about. Now we have to, according to the answer that we're given, it has to be from the left side of Abba, which switched into the right side of Ima. That goes in, and this becomes Mordechai. So through this, then we see that the salvation of the Jewish people came about. So now we're going to really settle this kasha we had before. Now this was apparently a kasha that we had someplace else, I don't remember it. But he says that this is not the nukvadik light. It's not a light. It's something else. Elaha aras Abba, but rather it's a glow or a radiance that's coming from Abba. Sheyotzes begila metoch yisod the nuk, from in the midst of the tocha sticks through of the yisod of the nuk. The shafer misyaches or Abba shuhu bechinas dacher the Mordechai. So that's the reason why it's called Mordechai and it's not called Esther. Okay, number Kaf Aleph. He says, Shorish Nishmas Mordechai, that the Rav had said this. He was from this ha'ara we're talking about. Mordechai, now they translate V'avor over in the art scroll as lost, as I can read my writing. So anyway, but Mordechai passed by, I guess. Because we're talking about here, Mordechai is actually from an aspect of he's the bechinas of the yisod of Abba. Now I notice that he's using, when he talks about this light of Mordechai, he doesn't say that it's the ataris of yisod. He said he's been using the word radiance. He's saying that it's a ha'ara, which is not the same thing as the Yesod itself. But at any rate, that's what we're talking about. I don't know if that's he's hedging his bets or what he's saying exactly. Because it's from a bechina, part of the Yesod of Abba, let's say. Over v'yotza the chutz, which passes through the Yesod of the Nook and goes out. Gam came so Mordechai lo labas, that he took her as a daughter. So I remember one of the first things that I ever heard was when I was becoming religious, was there was this influential Lubavitcher type that was saying that actually, speaking to a bunch of UMass college students who were really not interested, but he said that, just a little shocker, he said that actually Esther was Mordechai's wife. So that was way back when, and you don't see that often said. So here he says V'darsha Razal. So the rabbis explain this fact that he took her for a bais. So that they say over here in the Megillah, he was actually quoting the Gemara over there. Al tikra the bas al the bais. The bais is lashon wife. So he says, so how is this? He says ki yisod Abba shuhu b'bechinas Mordechai niknas b'Rachel. It comes into Rachel, shehi b'bechinas Esther, which is Esther. Rachel, so he says Rachel is Esther. So he doesn't talk about Esther too much here. So here she is. That Rachel is Esther. So he comes into Esther, which is a nukum b'vur l'kaman, which we'll explain later on. V'hi lo l'bayis, that she becomes like a bias for him. That's like taking the yud, which is Abba, and putting it into the bas. It makes her into a bias. B'dad the kol heichen shemuzgar kan yisod the Abba b'yotza the chutza. And whenever we see this, he says agavanu hu liyisod the Yisrael Saba. It's talking about. Don't forget, when we say Abba here, we're talking about Yisrael Saba. Shu hamislavish toch zun. That's what goes into zun. Im hamochi, together with those mochim we're talking about. V'chein b'var b'pri etz chaim. Also that same idea. So just some different ideas what to do with that bias idea. Now let's go to another one. We're coming around here to look at it a little bit more. So he says in number Kaf Bet. Number Kaf Bet says like this: V'lechein al yado v'chosed the truas yisrael b'zmanahu. Koseh b'ri eitz pri etz chaim. He said v'zecha b'masha marno. This is what we said. Sheosa ha'ara shal Yisod Abba. Remember, so he's saying it's a ha'ara of the Yisod of Abba. He's not saying it's the Yisod of Abba. So I'm just wondering, I'm just saying, is he, euphemizing his words, or is there, because it's not actually the Yisod, the complete Yisod of Abba, but it's a tremendous light anyway? I don't know. So, and relative to Ima, to the light of Ima, this is an Abbadical light that's very strong inside of her. We had that question. At the end of the Galus Bavel, that this is when the Inyan of the Dormita took place. It took 70 years, as we explained previously. He says, so, but wait a minute, every single night, enter into Malchus, Nai the Abba L'Levashim Tochen Nai the Ima, the same thing happens every single night. Now notice he says he's not hedging this by saying that's an aspect of Abba. He's saying that the Nai of Abba goes in, it's just the Nai of Abba goes in along with the Nai of Ima, because he's inside of the Nai of Ima, the Ima. And he said, Im came Koyu Roy Shabkol Lila Yizgal Yisod Abba. So there should be the same thing should happen. Is this revealing of the Yisod of Abba, or this tremendous Ara that we're talking about there, will come out. But it's not, it doesn't go out, and it's not not recognizable except over a long period of time. Well, that seems to me like it's a slightly inconsistent with something that we saw earlier, which is saying that Purim comes around every year, and I think this is the time of Mordechai and Esther. Just as far as this answer is concerned, That was how many years ago? It was 2,500 years ago or more. I don't think we've had a Purim ever since, but that which frees us from Galus has still not come out through Purim again yet. So let's go on to the next part. So he says this is Zaman Ruba. In that case, it was at the end of the 70 years. So let's go to number Kaf Gimel. Kaf Gimel says Mar Deror. Did we get to? Are we on Kaf Gimel? Kaf Gimel. Yeah, Mar Deror. It's I'm sorry. There's a new little piece here. So he says this new piece is called on page Lamed Bad. It says V'zecha v'nirma b'shem Mordechai Mamish. She'amber Rabbi Sein Zal. So he says, what is Mordechai? He says b'shulchu lashon meredachia. What is meredachia? So meredachia is lashon mar. Mar is bitter. Dachi reads like pure, clean, tahor. V'ho Targum Mar Deror, and this is how the Targum says it, Mar Deror. Gam niknab more. So I'm just reading across the top now. It says Gam nikruach a more over. It's also called a more that's over. V'inyan huki ha'arach ha'gadolach, this tremendous light. He Mar Deror zak v'naki betachlis. This is Mar Deror, which means it is very, very pure and clean. Betachlis, ultimately like that. Ha'over b'yisod the nook which passes through the yisod of the nook v'luchutz and outwards. V'zera v'sod pasuk v'yadi not for mamar. My hands had a hold of this mar over. So what is that talking about? So we have a little pirish down here on the previous page, Lamed Bet, and it says like this: V'nirma is called Zecha b'Masha Amra Chazal, Mordechai min the Torah min Ayim Dechsel b'Mar Deror, and B'Targ B'Num Miridakia. V'nirma is b'Zecha b'Shorish Nishmasu Shal Mordechai Atzadik, whom Ha'ara's Malchus the Abba is really coming from Ha'ara that's coming from the last part of Abba, from the Ataras Yisod of Abba, he said. Shehi Ha'ara Gadol Arad Ma'od, which is a tremendously powerful light. V'dima Ha'ara Zuchu Levusham V'dimo Ha'ara Zu Levusham Anikra More, and their covering, which is called More. It's called More V'dror. So what does the true mean? Pirush Naki means clean, pure. Kamo Shematorkum Dakia. V'kamo Kain. So similarly to this, came or Hazecha Naki Betachlis below Dinim. It was very, very clean, had no Dinim in it at all. It's a pure light. It's a tremendously light of the Ein Sof. V'gam Nirmaz B'mash and Amar B'shir Shir Hashirim V'dei not v'mar b'retz b'osai. Moreover. So what does it mean? Shepirushu Reich Tov Shal Bosem. It's really talking about this more is a perfume. And it says it's the idea of this more Tov, which sweetens everything as a perfume does. She'over mispasha the called side. This is the light of Mordechai, he's saying, that it goes out and it spreads on all sides. Sheroma's Gan came al Malchus the Abba, which is also a reference, as we said before, the Malchus the Avar, that aspect of the Abba is able to pass through the Yisod of Ima, the Shekuveir of the Yotza, but of Yisod the Nuk for the Chutz as it goes out and passes through there. Okay, so now let's, I think there was another one, number Kaf Gimel, down below, and he says, another Kaf Gimel says, Mar Deror Zak V'Naki Betachlis. This is something that is pure, very pure and clean. However, the Nuk for the Chutz. Atam Shenikra Zak V'Naki. Why is it called by that name? Because of the Eitz Chaim, Ki Yosef V'Kelim the Abba Rabbanon Nishbru B'Shviris Kelim V'Olam Matohu. They were never broken. So he says, I don't see how, were the Kelim of Ima broken? They weren't broken either. They fell down to the Karka, both fell down to their Al-Chacharim, fall down to the Karka of Atzilus. The Abba Lo Nishbru B'Shviris Kelim V'Olam Matohu. V'nishvach yisod Abba zak v'naki, and the yisod of Abba remains zak v'naki, shalocha b'yorad the makam asigin, it never fell down into the place of the sigin. How much more time do we have? None. So that's a good way to find out. Okay, that was cut. That was it right now. And so this is Baruch Fleischman, Tikkun Elevator Kolo, getting deeper into the story of Mordechai. And now we see that Rachel is Esther, the Nukta Zeranpin.